office, someone threw a half-eaten sausage roll at Chaz. It hit him on the side of the head and bounced off his shoulder onto the toe of his Sex Pistols crepe-soled brogues. He looked round. He couldn't see the culprit through the hordes of shoppers in the market square. A male voice yelled, "Poncy wanker!" A couple of passing girls giggled, and an old man in a flat cap and raincoat smoked. Chaz was used to it. People didn't like that his hair was blue on one side, black the other, with a green bird's nest quiff at the front. They didn't like the 8 earrings in his left ear or the safety pin in his nose. They didn't like his drape-like trousers or his ripped t-shirt saying, "Kiss this," in zigzag letters that dripped blood. His mum didn't want him to suffer. She'd said as much that morning. Candlewick dressing gown tied tight as a shroud, fag dangling between yellow fingers, chipped mug of tea on the window ledge, a magazine with Shakin' Stevens on the cover shaking away to the spin cycle on top of the automatic. His mum had taken a long drag on her cigarette and said firmly, "I didn't go through hours of suffering for my baby to be cannon fodder." "Come off," said Chaz. "I didn't even realise you'd gone into labour. I was birthed in the biscuit aisle of Woolworths." "I didn't mean that," she said, getting huffy. "I meant the hours I spent under your deadbeat dad conceiving you." Chaz didn't really want to join, but his girlfriend was pregnant and pushing him to find work. There weren't many job opportunities for someone who'd left school with 1 CSE in woodworking. He'd been looking for work, half-heartedly, since he'd heard about the baby coming. "In the army, they'll teach you a trade," his girlfriend Debbie had said, talking it up, trying to sound as if learning a trade was the most desirable thing in the world. "They'll teach you how to drive. You might be able to become, oh, I don't know." She waved her arms vaguely in the air. "An engineer or something." "An engineer?" he queried. "Yes," Debbie said brightly, the wattage of her face turned up to encourage him. "An engineer or something. And then," and here she gripped his hand and leaned forward, "then we can get married." Chaz's best mate, Steve, had tried to console him. "Join up and you'll go all over the place," he said. "When my dad was in the army, he went to Africa, Sicily, Germany." Mind you, that was World War II. "Great," Chaz said. "See the world, meet new people, kill them." "Don't be a bollock brain," said Steve. "Northern Ireland aside, there hasn't been a British war in decades. I'm telling you, it's a cushy number. And the longer you sign up for, the higher your starting salary. Besides, army gear's in. You can pick me up some of those combat trousers and knit me a couple of sergeant shirts." So here he was, going to join up. Chaz dusted the flakes of sausage roll off his shoe and walked on. He pulled the Walkman out of his pocket, put the earphones in, XTC. "And I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 senses working overtime." He walked in rhythm with the beat. Left, right, left, nodding his head and muscling his shoulders to look confident. "Try to tell the difference between a lemon and a lime, pain and pleasure, and the church bells softly chime." The sergeant in the recruiting office seemed a nice enough bloke. Offered Chaz a seat, poured him a mug of tea, asked him if he'd mind taking the safety pin out of his nose before they began. "The other hardware can stay for the moment," the sergeant said, indicating the earrings. Chaz's piercing split a bit as he pulled out the safety pin and he felt a blob of blood break out. He wiped it quickly away with his thumb. "So, why do you want to join the army then, son?" asked the sergeant. "Why?" He tried to remember what Debbie had told him to say, something about learning a trade, seeing the world. Chaz couldn't imagine why anyone would want to join the army unless there was no choice. He looked at the recruiting sergeant nervously and mumbled, "I want to learn to see." "Here, son, have a tissue." The sergeant's London accent sounded homely and reassuring as he put an open packet of handy Yankees in front of him. Chaz took one and dabbed his nose, bringing the white tissue away with a red sequin-sized circle on it. He crushed the tissue into a crinkly ball in his hand. When did you decide you'd like to be in the army? Asked the sergeant, giving Chaz another chance. I've always wanted to be a soldier. Chaz didn't think he sounded very convincing. Thought about saying, can I try again? The sergeant pulled open a drawer in his desk and brought out a sheet of paper. Fill this in, and I'll have a look at it. And then we'll have a chat to find out whether you'd be suited. Chaz took the form and the pen the sergeant offered. Name, Charles Grant. Date of birth, 21st January 1962. Age last birthday, 20. Nationality, English. Education. Chaz had been to so many schools that he couldn't really recall which one he'd attended and for how long. But if it was really necessary, he'd ask his mum. He put down lots of schools. I'd ask my mum. Employment. And criminal convictions. He wrote none. He hadn't got caught nicking the Walkman. Previous experience. In combat, did they mean? Chaz wrote, no, I'm pretty laid back, really. Next of kin and relationship to applicant. This is Jean Grant, she's my mum. Reasons for wanting to join the forces. Chaz rubbed his nose with a pen, making his piercing bleed again. Reason for wanting to join the forces. I've always wanted to. He lied, passed the form back. Righto, son. The sergeant scanned the sheet up. Your nationality is British, not English, so I'll just change that for you. Any qualifications? Chaz told him about the woodworking CSE, and the sergeant jotted it down. His finger moved along the paper as he read, and Chaz noticed his thick gold wedding band squeezed tight on his flesh as if it wouldn't ever come off. As he got near to the bottom of the page, the sergeant glanced up. No employment at all? He asked. Chaz got the impression it was a disappointment. I had a part-time job about 18 months ago, he said, washing caravans. It only lasted 3 weeks. 15 quid cash in hand for washing for sale touring caravans on Harvey Switson's lot on Saturdays and Sundays. In the winter, with a bucket of soapy water and a stepladder, Chaz's fingers had been numb and red as blood sausages after a day's work in the cold. And Harvey had complained that Chaz smeared the windows. Stop that. The sergeant scored 2 strong lines through the previous experience section with his pen. So, reasons for applying to join the forces. You've got to put a bit more than that. You've always wanted to, son. Why do you want to? The sergeant was poised with pen, ready to help. Chaz dabbed at the bead of blood on his nose, then stretched the spot of tissue between his hands. Why might he want to be a soldier? What did soldiers do? Chaz thought back to the tales of Steve's dad's life in khakis. It sounded bloody horrible. Look, just tell me straight why you're in here talking to me, son. The wedding ring glinted under the desk lamp. Chaz felt the heat of the bulb from where he sat. It wouldn't be wise to say he was there because he'd locked up his girlfriend and had to pay fine work to look after her, David said. He'd be frog-marched out of the recruiting office double quick if they knew that. Chaz shrugged at the sergeant and gave a little shake of his head. I can't say why I'm here, he said. I just want to join the army. The sergeant clucked his tongue, put down the form and leaned back in his chair. There was a nasty silence. Chaz mopped his palms with the bloody tissue. He knew he had to come up with something. I think the army will be a good career for me, he said. I like being outdoors and keeping fit, and I like... Chaz reached a blank. He liked listening to music and shagging his girlfriend and smoking a bit of pot now and then. What do you do in the army? Shoot people? I like to be of service. Of service in the army, said the sergeant, sitting forward and picking up Chaz's sheet again. Yeah, and keep the peace, said Chaz. That, at least, was true. Debbie's mother had thrown glass tumblers and tantrums when she'd learned that her daughter was pregnant, and had only calmed down when told that Chaz as good as had a job lined up. All right, son. Put that down on your form. I want to defend my country, dictated the sergeant. We'll see if we can speed you through training and have you deployed in 4 weeks. Good luck. Chaz turned up the Walkman full volume on his way home. He strode past crowds gathering around the window of the television shop where screens constantly played during broadcast hours. Must be a game on. They gathered around the windows like that for the World Cup. The market traders were packing up and Chaz picked up a cast-off turnip and lobbed it at the backs of the crowd. It hit a skinhead between the shoulder blades and Chaz legged it. He called round to Debbie's house to tell her he'd got a job now. She was in the kitchen washing up and shuffling side to side to the radio. Go wild in the country, dry bow wow wow was on her favourite. She switched the sound down when he came in. Her clothes were beginning to stretch over her belly now, like she was hiding a bomb under them. How did it go? She asked. They signed me up, said Chaz. He felt as proud as if he'd just launched himself into thin air. Oh, that's great! I'm so pleased! She wound her arms round his neck and hugged him tight as the bomb kicked him in the crotch. I've been thinking, she said, rolling the bomb to and fro across his groin. Think of the name Falkland if it's a boy. Chaz scratched his head. Falkland? What's that, a band? No, she said, grabbing a packet of jammy dodgers from the shelf and throwing herself down into a chair. Just something I heard on the radio.